Today I'm going to be jumping into my ratings of the cold and hot throw of the new 2023 spring and summer Candlescience scents. There's a lot of words there, but let's go ahead and get into today's video. Hey everyone, it's Nick here with the 1994 Candle Co. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I really hope you enjoy it. Today, as I said, we're going to be talking about my review of the Candlescience spring and summer scents for this year. I did go ahead and do a, this is part 2, so if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I'll put it up here, somewhere up here, up so you can click on that and go watch that first if you'd like. Those are just kind of my initial thoughts out of the bottle and all of that stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about, I actually made candles with these, let them cure and all that stuff, and so I've went through and burn test all of them, and so we're going to be talking about just the cold throw and hot throw of those scents. So this is not in any specific order, but I am going to start with one of my favorites, which was Coffee Shop. And I am going to be doing these on a scale from 1 to 5 just because I feel like that's kind of just the easiest. I think Wade from Black Tie Barn is the first person who I saw do it on a scale of 1 to 5, and I think that's just a little easier to follow. I might do halves on a few of them because some of them are just kind of in this weird in-between area. But yeah, so we're going to be doing them on a scale of 1 to 5 for the most part. So 1 is going to be like, couldn't smell it at all. 3 is going to be kind of average. This is kind of where I expect most scents to be at. And then 5 is going to be like this, blew out the room, like it's super incredibly strong. Like scents that I think of that are 5s for me would be like Fruit Loops from the Flaming Candle or Fresh Coffee from Candlescience, incredibly strong scents. Scents like that are pretty strong that, you know, definitely will have no trouble filling a room or even several rooms at a time. I also want to remind you guys that I am using 6006, which is a paraffin and soy blend wax. So with paraffin, you get really strong scents, usually a little more so than if you're using just 100% soy. So if you're using 100% soy, just know that your results are going to be a little bit different than mine, but they should still throw really well even in 100% soy. So first up, I'm just going to go down the list here. I've got them all written on my phone, so if you see me kind of looking down, it's because I'm just looking at my phone to remember what I wrote for each of these. So for the first one, Coffee Shop, I gave the cold throw a rating of 4. It has a pretty strong cold throw, but the hot throw was only about a 2.5, 3. It's just a little maybe below average. It was actually I was kind of surprised because most coffee scents I feel like that I smell are usually very strong. This one was, I mean, it definitely filled my office, but I couldn't really, so when I burn test, I'll burn in my office or whatever at work. But usually I can kind of tell, I can smell it, you know, down the hallway or things like that a lot of the times. This one, it was really just filled my office and I couldn't really smell it a whole lot else outside of my office. But I do personally really love this Coffee Shop scent. It definitely has some really good, caramely goodness in it. It definitely smells like a coffee shop. It smells like just a really nice, cozy coffee shop, like the name suggests. And that is one thing that I absolutely love about Candlescience is 9 times out of 10, if not even 10 out of 10, when the name of their fragrances, it usually smells spot on exactly what the name of the fragrance is. So next up, we're gonna do Strawberries and Cream. Strawberries and Cream, I really enjoyed this scent. It is super nice scent. When it's burning, I will say, just so you know, it kind of is a very good dupe for strawberry pound cake from Bath and Body Works. If you've ever smelled that scent, I love that scent so much. I know, sue me for loving Bath and Body Works scents, but I do really love that scent. And this one, when it's burning, not so much out of the bottle and not so much just the cold throw, but when it's burning, it smells almost exactly like strawberry pound cake. It is a really nice strawberry whipped cream mix, and it just it smells so good. But for this one, for the cold throw, I gave it a 3. It's pretty average. But the hot throw, I gave it a 4. It was actually pretty strong. I could definitely smell it a little bit outside of my office and kind of went down our hallway and all that stuff. And then I also brought it home and burnt it here, and it filled our bathroom and stuff like that really well. It probably would have no issues filling up like a larger like living room or kitchen, something like that. So it's just all around a really good scent. All right, next up was probably, if you watched the last video, you know it was probably my least favorite scent, which was chamomile tea. I will say, after burning it, I enjoy it a little bit more, and you definitely do get a little more of the tea notes when you're once it's actually in the candle and you're burning it. I still couldn't really smell a lot of tea at first, like even just smelling the candle by itself without it burning. But once it was burning, I definitely could smell a little bit more of the tea notes in it. It's very cedary still. I definitely smell a lot of the cedar. And I also definitely get some more like chamomile, stuff like that or whatever, like kind of a, herby kind of planty type scent or whatever. But once it was burning, I could definitely smell more of the tea fragrance notes and stuff like that as well. So I did enjoy it a little bit more when it was burning, but it's still definitely not one of my personal favorite scents. I will say it was very strong though. So for the cold throw, I gave it a 4, and the hot throw, I also gave it a 4, maybe even a 5, honestly. This one was pretty strong. It filled our living room. So we have kind of like an open concept in our apartment. So like our living room, dining room, and kitchen are all kind of like one big open area. And it filled the area pretty well, honestly. So I'd maybe even give it a 5. It's kind of hard to say because like sometimes it's like, was the air just blowing and, stuff like that. So I'd say 4, maybe even a 5, somewhere in that range. But it was definitely a pretty strong thrower. Like I said in my previous video though, definitely still probably my least favorite of all of these scents. However, I am still really considering adding it into my line because it is very, very woody, and I don't really have a lot of like earthy, like wood type scents. I have some kind of like that smell a little more cologne-y or, that type of scent or whatever. But they don't necessarily smell exactly like just like kind of like wood, like cedary type smell. So I am considering adding it into my line, even though it's not my personal favorite. So it is a very strong scent, and I think that definitely some of my customers would enjoy it. And next up, we're going to do Lily of the Valley. So Lily of the Valley is a very, like I said in my last video, it's kind of like a nostalgic scent for me. I was kind of talking about how it smells like these little beads that my grandma used to have. I think they were some sort of like bubble bath or some kind of like soap thing, something like that. But I used to like play with them when I was a kid, and I would like squish them until they popped or whatever. But they were like some kind of like soap or something like that. I'm pretty sure they were like for bubble baths or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But this scent smells like exactly like those. And it's not a bad thing. It's a very like calming, like nice floral type scent. It's like just a really nice, like all around well-rounded floral scent. I could definitely see this type of scent being in like a spa or something like that. It's just a very, like I said, just a very calming type of scent. But for the cold throw for this one, I gave it a 3. It was pretty average. It wasn't like incredibly strong, but wasn't super light either. And which some floral scents definitely can tend to be more subtle. So for it to have a 3 is pretty good for a floral scent. And then for the hot throw, I also gave it a 3 as well. This one was kind of hard to gauge because it is a more subtle scent, but I don't mean that in the way that like it won't fill a room. It definitely will. It's just not a super strong, like in your face type of scent. So you can definitely still smell it, but it just isn't like, well, like I said, really strong or in your face, if that makes sense. So I definitely could smell it down the hallway from my office and stuff like that. But it just, you know, like it's kind of a more subtle scent. So I would still kind of give it a rating of 3 just because it's like fairly average. It's kind of where I expect most scents to be. And then next up is going to be white oak and vanilla. For the cold throw for this one, I gave it a 3, but the hot throw, I gave it a 4. It has a really strong hot throw. It definitely fills the space really well. I did enjoy this scent more when it was burning. I will still say though that it has, I kind of mentioned in my last video, I can't put my finger on what it was, but there was some medicine that I remember taking as a kid that this sort of reminds me of. It's not a bad scent by any means, but it does remind me of like some medicine that I definitely used to take. I can't remember what it was, and I don't think it was like a normal medicine. My family was very into like healthy, like kind of just weird stuff, to be honest. So I don't know that it was like a normal medicine that like normal kids would have had. Like it definitely isn't like Tylenol or anything like that. It's just like a weird scent that I remember like having in something that I would have had as a child. It might be this bark stuff that my grandma used to have us eat or whatever. It was disgusting. It tasted horrible. It tasted just like it sounds, like tree bark or whatever. But it was like ground up, and I don't know what else was in it, but it was never very good. But I'm kind of thinking that might be what this scent is reminding me of. The smell isn't necessarily bad, but the taste was horrible. So again, this wasn't one of my personal favorite scents. I actually didn't mind it as much as the chamomile tea though, because you definitely do get the vanilla notes. And so it does kind of smell like a nice, it kind of almost smells like some type of like nicer cologne type scent. So this is another one I wouldn't necessarily mind adding into my line because I don't have like a ton of earthy, cologne-y, masculine type scents or whatever. So I wouldn't mind adding a few more of those. So who knows? I might add it into my line. We'll see, even though it's not my personal favorite. I like to have scents that, you know, just about anyone can find at least one thing that they like. But for white oak and vanilla, I did give the cold throw a 3 and the hot throw a 4. So it was a little bit lighter on the cold throw, but once it's burning, it definitely fills the space really, really well. And then last but certainly not least, this was actually my favorite scent out of all of these, is passion fruit pineapple. So this was probably also the strongest of all of the scents. So for the cold throw, I gave it a 4, and the hot throw, I gave it a 4.5. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like right on the level of like fresh coffee or Fruit Loops or those type of scents or whatever that are just like insanely strong. But it definitely is up there, like probably just below them. It's a really strong scent. It was one of those scents though that like my nose, I don't know if it just got used to it and I went nose blind to it really quickly or what, but I couldn't smell it again for a while, and so I was a little like, did I do something wrong with the candle? Is it the scent? Is it, or whatever. But then we had some coffee beans in our pantry, so I just smelled those, and then like almost immediately I could smell it again. So if you're ever kind of wondering, that's an old trick that you can do. If you're ever, you know, not sure of the hot throw of something, just go smell some coffee beans or coffee grounds, and for whatever reason, that I don't know the science behind it, but for whatever reason, it like resets your nose, and you can kind of smell things more normally again. I was gonna quickly just let you guys know that nothing changed as far as my personal favorite to least favorite. from these. So from least favorite to my favorite. So least favorite was chamomile tea, then white oak and vanilla, lily of the valley, coffee shop, strawberries and cream, and then my favorite was passion fruit pineapple. So nothing really changed from least to most favorite, but that's mostly just because the scents that I really liked out of the bottle, I still loved even more in a candle. The ones that I didn't like so much, I actually did even like them even more once they were in a candle. Like chamomile tea and white oak and vanilla definitely both smelled a little bit better once they were in a candle, and I did enjoy them more. You could definitely smell or pick up on more of the notes once those ones were in a candle. So I would just highly recommend, if you have them and you're smelling them out of the bottle and you're just kind of like, I'm not sure, I would highly recommend to go ahead and make them into a candle and just try it out just to see, and you might end up enjoying them. But that is going to be it for today's video. I would so appreciate if you guys would leave this video a thumbs up so that it gets shown to more people, so that this channel can continue growing and I can continue sharing knowledge and all of that about candle making with you all. It would also mean the world if you guys would hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell notification so that you get notified when I post a new video. But with that, that's going to be it for today's video. Check out these next videos.